All right, I want to ask Tom McElroy, the head of the family, to come up and introduce Audrey and family. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Darrell. I first want to say thanks to officers, all the club officers, club membership for making this happen, giving us a venue tonight. We really appreciate everything you guys do. We realize there's a lot you do that no one knows about, but it sure goes appreciated with us. Again, my name is Tom McElroy, W4SDR. My wife Jan is sitting there. She's K4PRM. We both got licensed in 2007. As soon as they dropped the code, we were in. Shortly after that, our first and second harmonics also were also licensed. Tonight you're going to be listening to Jack and Audrey, and we were recently given the opportunity through the Dayton Amateur Radio Association, the Dave Coulter Memorial DX venture, where we only had to make our way to Miami, and from there on the club took us to Curacao and put us in luxurious accommodations on a cliffside of the Caribbean Sea with 145-foot towers of stacked beams for HF over salt water, and with QRO power. And the kids did quite a lot. They'll tell you some more detail. But my job was just to be the dad and to go along as they often needed supervision. But on this trip, between Jack and Audrey and Bryant Rascal, who is a CW machine, the four of them were probably the most successful group that the Dayton Amateur Radio Association ever put forth onto a DX adventure. Any questions about any of that before I hand it over to Jack and Audrey? No? Okay.
This is Brian, a fellow from Alabama.
Brian is from Montgomery, Alabama, and he and his lovely mother, Lauren, accompanied us to Curacao. And then 35 words a minute is conservative.
No, he's doing like 50 sometimes.
He does 35 while he's texting his friends.
Yeah. He was eating and like...
Yes, sir. Les?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention about Brian. He's going to be one of our speakers at Ham Jam this year.
All right.
And he's cut from the same cloth as, what's her face? Who is it? Ruth Willett. A tremendous young man and very well spoken, does his research. He's 15 years old. But at Huntsville this past weekend, he copied CW at 60 words a minute. And he thought, he was the top guy there. He was upset last year because he only got 53. He was up to 60. I look forward to him coming over and presenting his stuff about what he's a great kid. Just keep it in mind to come to Ham Jam to hear this young man.
Very good. Thank you, Wes. Anything else? Okay. Yes, sir.
70 years ago, there was a guy named McElroy who could copy code 70 words a minute.
McElroy could copy code at 70 words a minute. I'm painfully aware of that.
You're reminded of that often?
I can copy da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's about it. KI4, BUN, KI4, ZIA, come on up.
KI4.
KM4, excuse me. Thank you, my old
Thank you. All right.
Didn't look old enough to have KI.
Here, I had this morning, you go to the other side. Great start. Okay. So, my brother and I and Brian Rascal went on the Dave Coulter Memorial Youth DX Adventure, of course, on the beautiful island of Curacao. From July 14th to July 19th, we took a flight down to Miami, hop, skip across the ocean to Curacao, which, by the way, is located about 40 miles off the coast of Venezuela. Alrighty, so what was our team? So we were accompanied by Uli. He was the guy he's from Germany, he's really nice. He kind of was in charge of the shack and its runnings. He knew everything, and he helped us along the way, just getting to know the shack itself. Jeff Howard was not there, but Uli kind of communicated with him through us. So that was the hosts, as you would say. And then the team.
Well, the team we had was Bryant Rascal, KG5, HBO, me, my dad, my sister, and Bryant's mom.
Yes. Alrighty, and then some of the very important people on our trip as well were our leaders, Don Dubon, Jack Reichart, and Jim Storms. Don Dubon and Jim Storms are leaders of the DARA. I believe, Don Dubon is the ex-president, I think, of DARA. And it was such a treat to work with them. You know, without them, without their support, none of this would have been possible without their, encouragement and support, and telling us, oh, just stay up a little longer, you'll be okay, just a little longer. Yeah, there's a picture, by the way, that was our view. It was great. You just look out of the shack and there you see beautiful ocean. Every so often we see a sketchy boat or two, because we're off the coast of Venezuela, and we were warned we'd see some sketchy boats, and there were some sketchy boats. And we saw Coast Guard come through, and we're like, oh, oof, okay. All right, so getting there.
Well, when we were coming there, it was actually just a regular American Airlines flight. It wasn't like some tiny little plane that we had to take, like the plane that the D-Expedition crew had to take to Saba. It was just a regular jet, and when we got there, it was pretty much the same as going through regular customs if you're going back into the U.S. The customs officer we had was very nice. She wasn't serious at all, and which is pretty surprising since you watch all those shows where the customs go for people's bags, rip them open.
U.S. Border Security.
Yes.
My ears is pretty on. It's right on. Or why don't you keep talking for a second? My thing's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, when we went over the island, it was actually multiple islands we saw, but we could tell that they weren't our islands since they're tiny islands. And when we finally got to our island, it was beautiful, even though most of it looked like desert, which was basically the theme of the whole entire island.
Yeah, and on their arrival, you think it's a small island, and you realize it's really not a small island. Most of it looks like desert, and you get down there and you realize there's 20-foot tall cacti, I guess. And that makes no sense. You're right next to the ocean, but it's interesting. And that's just some pictures of the flight there from Miami. That's leaving Miami. Yep, real pretty. And that was my brother and I getting off the plane and realizing this is the first time we've been out of the country. We didn't really know what to expect at the moment, but we were excited. And there we are in our matching salmon shirts. All three of us traveled through the airport like that. Welcome to Curacao. So we all met in Miami, but we got kind of jumbled up on our flight to Curacao. We all got off, we all met there. And going off what Jack said with customs, once you get into Curacao, I'm sure as most of you all know, getting back into the U.S., all your bags, they can be opened up, they search them and everything. Coming into Curacao, you don't even have to put your bags through an x-ray. You just walk in, they're like, you're welcome, I guess. We need the tourism. Okay, so experience more with Curacao activities. And that was a beautiful plane. I had to take a picture of that. Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah. That's heading up to the station. Now, I didn't know exactly where the station was on the island of Curacao. It ended up being, you had to drive basically up a mountain to get there. And let me tell you, these were not American roads. These were dirt roads. And there we were in our, what was it, a manual, what was the name of the?
It
was a Hyundai.
Van.
Yeah, there it was a man. Yes. And there we go, Jim Storms, credit him, he was getting us up and down those hills. It was great. Yeah.
I believe this is the view from the pool house, which is where we stayed at for most of the trip. The pool house is only a couple of houses down from where the shack was. and it was this beautiful view we had, and we even saw a double rainbow, as you can see right there. And these were actually very nice villas instead of villas in like these like in Venezuela where they're tiny and stuff. And these are really nice villas here in Curacao.
Yeah, so once again, thanking the leaders of our group, we were actually staying in rentals, which were actually, some really wealthy people own these rentals, and then they hire people to rent them out during the off-season. And we were in a nice, like, 4-bedroom pool house, and it had an infinity pool, and it steps down to the ocean. It was lovely. And just a short walk from the shack, probably like 10 minutes. That was our first night. West Point Curacao, soul food. It was a nice little restaurant we went to. What was your favorite thing?
Well, when we went to Soul Food, it was more of a restaurant out of a house. They didn't really have all these big fancy meals or like shrimp creole or anything. It was just like, oh, a hamburger, cheeseburger, pizza.
Pizza?
Yeah.
Go to Curacao, I'll have pizza. Alrighty, now, the night we got there, it was pretty dark. We got to the shack. We were all pretty much kind of tired. And then the next morning we woke up, we're like, wow, we're not at our station anymore. This is a little different. So there you can see, we got all the stacked Yankees up there. It's an amazing station. Speaking of the night we got there, we got in, and we were all, it's been a long day of travel, we're all so tired. And then they were like, well, you guys ready to get on the air? Like, yes. That's just
Pictures.
just pictures. That was the night of. We got there, we went ahead, that's me and my brother. I think I was operating 40 meters, 20 meters, so I can read that, I'm not sure. I was just showing my brother, you know, just going through the radio and everything with him. By the way, everything is so organized there.
Yes.
It is so easy to use. First night we were there, we were able to use everything, and there's my thing like again. Let's see here.
I can go through how organized it was. It was so organized that every station had their own antenna switches, as you can see right here. You had like 40 meters, 20 meters, and you had all that at every station, and there's 4 stations, so 4 people could be operating at the same time, even though they're 3 people. But it was actually a very good setup. All the radios there were K-frees, except for that Yazoo right there that Audrey is mainly operating the whole entire time.
I liked my Yazoo.
Yeah,
I
she
had my
did.
Yazoo.
She
We all
did.
had our like undefined little operating areas. Like, you know, Jack had his K3. I think Brian was on a K3 as well, and I had my Yazoo. And when someone had my Yazoo, I was like, I liked my Yazoo. I had my own little setup going.
I had your once.
Yeah. At least I remember to change the call sign in the logging software. All right. You wanna?
Yeah, this is me with Don Dubon, as you can see, and here's the old kitchen we had in the shack. And that's where we ate breakfast. We didn't really eat breakfast at the pool house because we tried to keep it all nice and clean.
Yeah, the shack is actually, it's in a little house essentially, so there's a bedroom and there's a little kitchenette and everything. Yeah. That was the first, probably full day we were there. I was just really excited. I don't remember why, but probably, we may have surpassed about 1,000 contacts, maybe early the first day. That was exciting. All right, I think this is a video. It should show up as a...
QSL Commander, state one more time. State, please. Very nice. I live there. Thanks so much. 73s and QRSM PJ21.
That's just a little snippet of it.
John, handle that.
Let's see if I can just... It's just not staying on my ear.
You need that high headset.
Yeah, I need a Pro 7 is what I need. All right. So that's just a little snippet of what I heard. Later on, I think I have some audio recorded from Way. So you can see both ends of the conversation.
And here's me right here. And here's also Jack. And he was very nice. I talked to him a lot. And he just mainly stayed on the veranda talking to his friends like Don Dubon and Jim Storms. And if there's any radio difficulties, he would help us with them.
It was another thing. It was almost completely youth-led. There wasn't a whole lot of adults, intervening. It was mostly us figuring out everything. Besides the first maybe like a couple hours getting used to the whole setup, besides that, it was just us and we were on our own. So yeah, those are the two Jacks. That was fun. He was really nice. It was so much fun. That was me eating dinner. Yeah. We couldn't have any downtime. We had a pile up going. You can't just be like, well, you can't drop that. So I went ahead and had Jim Storms. He volunteered to operate for me just for a little bit to eat. That was great. So that's
and here's the whole room, well, the shack basically that we had. As you can see, here's Bryant with his Cape Free over here and his own paddle for Morse code. And then here's my sister, and then me over there at my station, and then Jim Storms just watching over Audrey, and Yuli watching over Brian to make sure they had no difficulties with their radio.
And this is, like I was saying, Brian was just eating, and he was doing like 40 words per minute. I was like, wow. Man. Yeah, there's Jack again. I think it's on DX Spotter. If it was DX Spotter, saving grace. We had so many spots. You could tell it was so funny. Jack would be on like one of the 15 or 17 meters, and we all know how those can be sometimes. And he was like, getting 1 or 2 contacts every like 10 minutes, and then someone would spot him. And it's like, woof, well. Yes, and then this is audio recorded back here in Georgia by Way Walker. So you're able to see both sides of the conversation. And preface, I couldn't hear half the people in this audio when I was there. Just, it's in Curacao, but it should be a video. Just audio, actually.
All right, November 7, Queen 8, here 59. All right, thanks so much. 73 secure that.
So that was audio recorded here. Once again, I couldn't hear half those people when I was there. Wish I could, though. All right, and there should be another audio clip here. Yes, for those wondering, yes, 1,500 watts. So, it's very different. It was a new experience going from, my home station at home that runs like 100 watts usually, going to where one runs 1,500 watts. And you got salt water, and as people say, you got the female voice adds another 3 dB, so. Some experiences we learned. I've never manually had to tune up an amplifier before, so this was a new experience for me. But I got to learn all that, and the mentors were great at helping everyone with that. I think everyone in the end, Brian included, learned something new from this experience, whether it be, tuning up an amplifier or just learning how to retrieve that file from the logging software you couldn't find, because that happened once, and well, that was a little scary. So, alright, so this was probably the third day we were there, just getting some more operating done. I believe on the third day we were about at 4,000 contacts, so we were doing pretty well. Doing pretty well for 3 people.
And then here's in downtown Curacao in Wilmstead, which is the capital of Curacao, and in the center of town, well, not the center of town, but in basically the center of town, you could say, it was just this big word of Curacao, and took pictures on it. And as you can see on the buildings here in Wilmstead, that they're very old looking. They're not like all these modern houses you see today.
Yeah, so if you look up any other DX Ventures, you probably see them gathered around the big Curacao sign. And I don't know, I think that's Jack tucked in letter C there, and I'm tucked in W there. It's very hard to get a picture there by yourself, so everyone's always coming up. But that was our day. That was our day of leisure. We got about, in total, probably 1.5 days over the course of 5 days to get some leisure and sightseeing in, because we'd usually go sightseeing in the morning before the band, the bands were iffy in the morning, and then we would come back in the afternoon and 20 meters be up and running, and then, later on the evening, 40 meters be up. So, that was Wilmstead.
And then this is actually on the bridge in the river that ran through Wilmstead.
The Queen Emma floating bridge.
Yes, and this bridge was just floating. And if there's a little bit too much wind, your hat could just fly right off, which happened to a guy actually.
It happened right in front of us. The guy was the poor guy. I think he was Dutch, and he was just walking by. Everyone was just having fun. Gust of wind comes by, hat just tumbles off the bridge
Into the water.
Yeah. So this is probably also a picture you'll see common of Curacao. This is the Dutch architecture, known for the bright colors. It's a really pretty city. If you ever go down there for DX or just for leisure, definitely take a walk through Wilmstead. It's definitely worth seeing.
Though when we were there, when we had to get gas for our van, there was only like one gas station there that we could find, and there was this tiny little gas station. And somebody had to come out there and pump for us instead of us pumping ourselves. So, as you can see, Curacao isn't well developed as other countries, like the Dutch were.
Like in the 1960s.
Yeah, so it was a little last time. I've never been to a gas station where they pumped it for you, so that was a little interesting. I'm only 16.
Go to New Jersey, go to Washington.
Well, I guess I've never gotten gas in New Jersey then. All right.
And you can also see the Queen Emma Bridge. I believe that's the name.
Yeah, Queen Emma setbacks. You're not
Right.
blocking them. I think they can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were on. This was in the van. We were going over a bridge. Jack likes to call the IKEA bridge because it was blue and yellow.
Some assembly required.
All right. All right. Now, I guess I'll let you tell a story.
Well, so there's this beach in Curacao. It's a really pretty beach, and in the water there's a bunch of coral and fish. But there's a sign that said, "Don't feed the hogs." And we're wondering, like,
Where are the hogs?
Where are the hogs? And when we were walking down the path to the beach, who would have known that this big old guy right here would have been just sitting down in the mud. And then when we were going down to the beach, we found him again, but going through this person's bag, eating a bag of hot dog buns, opening it up, and eating the hot dog buns, one by one. And the people came back, and they were just stunned.
They're like, what happened? And there's the hog over there sitting there like, I don't know. Also, there's a little restaurant, near the beach. And we were walking up, this is where we just parked, we just got to the beach. And Lauren, Brian's mom, we walked by, and she said, oh, look at all the little hogs. There were smaller hogs, smaller than this one, just sitting in the shade. And we just noticed that, we thought it was funny. We went to the restaurant, and she's like, a barbecue sandwich. And we walked back out to the beach and everything, and they're gone. We're like, well, there you go, Lauren, now that was your sandwich. Yes. That was the beach. There's also along the hogs, there was iguanas, and my brother and I did a little bit of snorkeling. We saw what did we see? We saw coral, we saw parrotfish.
Well, I sure showed a video that I got from a GoPro that I got swimming in the water. And when I was snorkeling there, it was really nice. You saw these pretty fish. And I went out too far, like farther than everybody else.
You went out really far.
Almost to that big dip you see on beaches. I didn't even realize this until I went above the water and I see Audrey doing this. Jack!
Here's what he did. I was swimming, we were in probably 5 foot deep water snorkeling, and that was fine for both of us, and we were just having fun. And then I turn, and I don't see him. And I turn the other way, and I don't see him. And I'm like, what happened to my brother now? So I stand up, and there I see him. And if you're looking at a picture of the beach from aerial view, you see the light blue water where you can still see the sand, and you see the dark blue water where it's obviously deeper. Yeah, that's where he was. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's just going to keep going. And he was the farthest one out on the beach. And I was just like, Jack, you better get back here before I have to go get you.
Though, let me tell you, the stuff I saw out there is pretty cool. I mean, I found coral that was shaped like a cup. I saw fish that were about like this big, about. I didn't see any sharks, but a bunch of fish. It was really pretty and really picturesque.
All right. Yeah, that was at the restaurant, right before we found out about the barbecue. Yeah, so we have our 3 Pro 7s that Tile Sound was graciously enough to donate to the team. Yeah, that's a picture. They wanted us to do a little photo shoot with them, so there's some pictures with us and the Pro 7s, which let me tell you, when you go from an older, headset to a Pro 7, it's like a whole new world. It's really nice. So, yeah, we each got one of those. We got all the adapters to the radios, and we each got a T-shirt from Ray Novak. This says, DX Adventure on it from ICOM. There's all the other 2 of us. Yeah. So we had those sent out. That's us with the banner from House Sound. We did a lot, I like to think half of this trip was operating and the other half was photography and just, being spokesperson. So, yeah, so this was DX Spotter. It got pretty full up really fast. I think, this is just under an hour, I think, of, PJ2Y. We were really making contacts.
Yeah, some of these call signs I recognize, like K8ND.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mainly Florida, Northern Texans, and Georgia. The Texans were booming in there, and with their big stations.
I think this is the video, too. Yeah.
They weren't running 1,500
Caribbean.
No,
They were not. Papa Julia to Yankee, the Beach Caribbean, Curacao, Curacao.
Echo 4.
Kilo Echo 4 again.
Kilo Echo 4. Zulu India Papa.
Curacao, KE4ZIP, Curacao.
Roger, you're about 5757 here. Echo 4, over.
Curacao, Tampa, Florida, and you are 59, you are 59 here in Curacao, Caribbean.
All right, well, have fun. Yeah. 73, KE4ZIP.
To use the keys came from Pop Juliet to Yankee and the beautiful Beach Caribbean. He's populated to Yankee, the beautiful beach of Caribbean here in Curacao. Curacao.
He was making contacts on 10 hours. That's, that was pretty good. So that was early on, because obviously we have about 900, probably 960 contacts at that point. That was pretty early on. Then it happened. We surpassed the past record of the Dave Calter Memorial Youth DX Adventure, and we were all happy. I think the record was like 6,235, give or take. We surpassed it, and instead of celebrating, we just said, let's keep going. So we had about 2.5 hours, I think, after we surpassed the record to continue making more contacts. We were really happy. And we just kept on going, and so ended up with 6,593 contacts. That was so that was great. And I think currently we have about 5,900 that are confirmed at the moment. So that should keep going up. And the night we finished up, we had our interview with Neil Rapp on Ham Talk Live. That was a lot of fun. We got to talk about, I don't know, did anyone hear it? Maybe not, but that's okay. We were just talking about our experiences, and I think half the conversation was about what we ate down there. And the hogs. And the hogs. Yeah. That was our team picture. Now, it was really bright out, so everyone's faces is it was real bright. So there we all are. That's the team, Dave Calter Memorial Youth DX Adventure for 2019. And that was a picture that was officially posted on ICOM America's Twitter, which was a lot of fun. And I think this weekend we actually talked to Ray Novak about the whole experience, and that was a ton of fun. And that was our trip. And I just want to say, I know there's youth out here, and I just want to say that you can apply, and it's so worth doing. It's not only you get the radio experience, but like I was talking to Ray Novak, it's like the most important thing you'll learn is just being down there, and really what you learn with each other and how to operate with other people is a big thing. So I encourage anyone to apply. It's a ton of fun. And who doesn't want to go to Curacao anyway? So, and see all the hogs. And
Any questions or comments about this presentation?
Questions, comments, concerns? Yes.
Fantastic presentation. My question for you would be, what advice would you give for the operators that follow you?
Well, the advice I would give for them is when you're going there, make sure to just keep on going. Even if you think, oh, I want to eat breakfast now. I gotta stop. One moment, guys.
Oh no, there's nothing that's stopping.
No, you're either gonna have someone coming over and substituting for you, or you're gonna have to eat while you're operating. So
I would just say be flexible is the best option. Be ready, to work, to operate longer hours than you might be used to. We probably longest shifts we pulled were 8 hours. With minimal breaks in between. I would say just keep going, you'll get there, just have encouragement. And really once you get into the rhythm, you get the pile up, at first you're tired, it's like 11:30 at night, you're getting a little drowsy, and then you get a pile up, right? You're like, gotta keep the adrenaline up, we gotta get all these people. That's what I would say, and just, work hard, and it's a lot of fun.
In some of those pictures, up on the wall in the corner of the shack, there was something with a bunch of green lights. What was that?
Whoa! All right. Yeah, that was the whole. Let me see if I can find that picture. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Let's see if we can go find all that. Speaking about how organized it was. There we go. I think that's a good picture of it. Yeah, that was all the Yankees coming in. Oh my goodness. But if you could see, you're outside the shack and you look up, you see all the Yankees stacked. I thought it was hard to keep, just a little shack all organized and stuff, but no, they had all their wires neatly tie wrapped under the downspout, and it was just beautiful. But anyway, that's, yeah, that's all the antennas coming in, and preamps down there, amps down there, and Brian, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Jack and Audrey, I think I have a comment. And on behalf of North Fulton Amateur Radio League, I want to congratulate you both, not only on a fantastic, what sounds like a fantastic trip, but for representing our club in the manner that you did. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Anything else?
What's next?
Oh boy, what's next? Well, I don't know if you, well, Brian Rascal recently went on WRTC in 2018. They went to, where did they? Went to Germany. So my brother and I, hopefully, long term, are hoping to try to get on one of this year. They've expanded their past 2018 three youth teams to now 6 youth teams out of 63 teams. So my brother and I are hoping to, you know, build a, you know, get our contesting up and get a spot in the 2022. They're going to Bologna, Italy. Woo! Yes, for WRTC, which would be a ton of fun. And Brian said it was so worth doing, and that's what we hope to do next. Yes.
Did you launch a high altitude balloon a couple
We
weeks ago?
did, July 4th. You wanna?
Yes, on July 4th, we launched 2 balloons, actually.
Yes.
A Mylar balloon with the PicoSat, and another one, a latex balloon, which had the whole payload and GoPros on it, so you could see what's going on. And we should have launched it in the middle of summer. We should have launched it in the winter and fall time, because we're spreading buckets then. So we also plan on sending out a few balloons in the winter or fall time, which would be ideal since it'll be cool, and a lot of people would come out because they wouldn't have to be all sweating.
I was tracking on the APRS. One of them got over 100,000 feet, right?
One of them did. The main 119,000 feet was the main HEB balloon. You know, went a lot farther than we expected to, but came down. We retrieved it, got everything back, all the pictures and everything. So I think we only got a couple minutes left. But is there anyone else that has any anything to say?
Sorry, was this a competition that you won, or was it a... How did you...
It was not a contest. We did not. Yeah, we did not. We were not operating in a contest.
No, to go. No, to go. Did you win?
Oh,
to be
it was just we applied to the. There's a website for anyone who wants to go to a Dave Calder Memorial DX Adventure. You supply, you put in some information about yourself, and then from what they get, they judge you. On there, you don't put in scores of contest or anything. That's what they're asking.
Though also.
Yeah, or Jack, I think someone else got one or whatever. Yes.
I was just curious. You talked about your long shifts and operating a lot. What was your average amount of sleep per day?
Well, I
count on one hand.
Well, I would probably get the most sleep since Audrey and Brian were more used to this, since I never been up like 1 in the morning operating still.
Well, just to give you an idea, Jack probably went to bed around 11:30 and got up around like 7. Brian and I usually stay until 3:30 or 4, and got like 3, maybe 4 hours of sleep. So it wasn't bad though. It wasn't that bad because the pilots keep going. So, alrighty. Anything else at all?
Why so much sleep?
Going once, going twice. 73.
Thank you, Audrey, Jack, and all the McElroys. Our tradition is to give people that speak for us, give presentations. We'll give you a certificate of appreciation, and we will do that. Unfortunately, we don't have it tonight. So Audrey, Jack will be getting these to you. Thank you so much. All right, a couple quick things before we get to John's program. John Tramontanis in for TOL. Got a couple of George Cuso party things that we can hand out.
Yeah. I slowly distribute these tracks with the Black Food for Cancer Party.
Speak, Micah.
Mike.
Wire them up.
Okay.
You probably saw in the reflector that our club won the George Cuso party this year. And these are hot off the press. I really didn't get a chance to study them a great deal, but we had a very impressive score of 724,275 points, which the next three Georgia clubs after us combined fell short of. So it was a great rebound after being upset last year. So I appreciate everybody who participated. I hope we have more. Did the McElroy family participate in the Georgia Cuso party? Did you all participate in the Georgia Cuso party?
Yes, we did. We participated with our local group, Sarah.
Okay. We'd love to have you in the North Pole.
We'll try to make a difference.
Well, submitting your scores on our behalf would be great. I'll work you during the year, don't worry. And we have, and a quick review of the list of plaque award winners. There were 4 North Fulton entries. November 4 Foxtrot, which was Jim's QRP group.
The QRP team.
Team, yes. And that they will have a plaque. And of course, our Superstar Rovers. And W6IZT, Greg Marco, entered in as a club participant, so we appreciate his scores. He has a plaque. And K9OQ is in the audience. Larry Patton, I believe, won a plaque. Is that correct? And he also was first place overall rookie in the Georgia Cuso party and first place for Forsyth County single operator high power phone. And then Eddie Thompson, 84TQ, was second place rookie and single operator high power phone. Okay, so I'll just keep that brief. The Georgia Cuso Party webpage, just type in Georgia Cuso Party, you can see all the results and scores. Congratulations to everybody, and we'll talk about it more in the future and start recruiting for next year.
Thank you, John. Like I posted on the reflector, John does an enormous amount of work on this. Luckily, it's a labor of love, I think, for him. He sure does a lot of work, but he gets great results for us. Thank you, John. Okay, Gary, do you want to say something real quick? And then we'll get to John.
Yeah, this should be classified under Dr. Bush is stupid sometimes. And this is what it is. I'm sure everybody's quite well aware that one would not normally mess with a car battery, take the lids off, stick your finger down, oh, see how much sulfuric acid. I didn't realize this till today, and that is, I'm sure a bunch of you have had instruments, equipment, different things, radios, whatever. You take the back, oh, darn batteries, the alkalines are corroded. Pop the alkalines out, throw them in the trash, get the stuff out, maybe wash it out, and you're fine, right? Wrong. Oh, you know what the white gook is in there? I'm sure all of you know. Don't shout it out at once. What is it?
Sulfuric acid.
It's potassium hydroxide. That's one of the strongest dang bases you can come up with. And if you, if you've got a cut cuticle and that gets in it, it just eats. And there ain't nothing much you can do till it's finished eating your skin out. So here, it's really simple. All you got to do is 2 stupid things and you won't have any problem with that. One, it wouldn't hurt to put goggles on. You only get 1 set of these. And get some dead cheap penny a piece gloves. And then just go in the kitchen. Your wife's not around, or her husband. Steal some cheap vinegar. Anything you got. Just spray it in there and it bubbles up and all that. Just let it bubble. And when it stops bubbling, you can look at it or hear it or whatever. Just wash it out. Then hit it again. When you don't get any bubbles, you're good to go. If it goes down a city sewer, who cares? It's their stuff. But if you got a septic tank, you might want to think about how much potassium hydroxide you're dumping in that septic tank. If you have enough batteries, it could be significant. So all I'm trying to say is it's a simple answer. It's no big deal. But if you were dumb as I was, don't play with potassium hydroxide. I didn't realize that's what that stupid white gunk was. That's it. I just wanted to tell you that.
Thank you, Gary. We all learned from you. Okay, the second half of tonight's program, Dr. John Kludt. Thank you, John, for being here tonight.
Okay. Well, Dell made me promise that we'll be out of here by 9 o'clock, so I'm going to cut it off at 8:57, so there's time I can pick up my Visa card and my half of the 50. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit. For those of you who are here, thanks for coming to the Satellites in the Park event. We worked primarily the FM satellites, and I thought this would be kind of a carry-on from that. This is a bit of a test. Does go back one. Satellite in the upper right-hand corner.
Telsat.
FO29. Unfortunately, silent key. That was really a good satellite. It was built by a government. It lasted for a couple decades. It was in a higher orbit. It was really a good one. The one in the lower right-hand corner, your right-hand corner. That's AO7. That's the satellite that was dead and came back to life. And the one in the upper corner?
AO91.
Actually it's AO92, but it is the CubeSat. So that is the standard CubeSat. 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. This is just prior to launch. Right here, for those of you, maybe you can see it, is the antenna wrapped around pre-deployment. It's held around those pegs with some nylon fishing line down here. That's actually a resistor. Once you get into orbit, you send the command, you heat up the resistor, you melt the nylon fishing line, and bang, out goes the antenna. It's pretty cool. All right, next slide. So, quick overview on how to work them. Fox Series operational overview. I want to talk a little about the interoperable radio system on the ISS, and then Project Golf and Lunar Gateway as we have time. Again, for those of you who are in the park, we work the FM satellites. The uplink and downlink, it's a single channel event. And Big Dog wins, which is one of the challenges with an FM satellite, because particularly on Saturdays, everybody wants to be the big dog, and so there's lots and lots of power. I did put on here, just as a reminder again, PL of 259 if you try to work the FM satellites. This is a graphic that tries to depict what a linear transponder is all about. A linear transponder takes a chunk of spectrum, normally between 20 and 100 kilohertz. By tradition, uplinks are lower sideband, downlinks are upper sideband, and you can have multiple queues going on at the same time. So it's a much more relaxed environment in terms of operating. Review of the satellite operations. Again, when I counted in August, there were 19 opportunities out there. Why might this be important? I just gave this talk at Huntsville, and I followed Carl. Help me with his last name, Wes.
Lutzelschwab.
Carl starts with an L, and it's Polish.
Lutzelschwab.
And it was a very discouraging talk if you're an HFer. We're not to the bottom of cycle 24 yet. Cycle 25 is going to be worse than cycle 24, and cycle 26 is going to be worse than cycle 25, or so say the people who know. So the point is, it's probably a good time to think about working satellites, because we really don't care about sunspots with the satellites. So 19 opportunities. There are lots of satellites up there. There are FM satellites, sideband and CW data, FM birds best practices. We talked about this at the park. Watch your power, 5 watts up into a 7 dB gain antenna would be the standard. Full duplex. You need to be able to hear yourself on the downlink. Don't forget your tone. And for those of you who use arrow antennas, when you watch people use an arrow, they're always twisting their hand. And what you're trying to do is get the elements on your arrow into the apparent plane of the satellite, whichever sounds the loudest. When you go to transmit, it helps to twist your wrist just a little bit, because if you think how an arrow is built, the 70 centimeters, the antennas are at 90 degrees to each other. So it really helps to twist to try and get that transmit antenna close to the same plane as the other one. Linear transponders. If you want to get on the linear transponders, and I really encourage you to do that. Watch your power, again, 5 watts, maybe 10 if you're going through a lot of trees is more than enough. Follow the one true rule. I'm always asked, well, because you're one direction on 70 centimeters and the other direction on 2 meters, and if I need to adjust my frequency so I don't sound like Donald Duck, which one do I adjust? The one true rule says always adjust the higher frequency to make yourself intelligible. Lately, that's the transmit frequency. Sometimes it's the receive frequency. And I would really strongly encourage you to consider using SDRs for your downlinks. A couple advantages. Number one, you can see yourself, so you kind of know where you are and other people are. And number two, quite frankly, it's a cheaper way to accomplish the process. The ISS is on again, the packets. So if you want to, they're standard APRS packets on protocol. And if you want to work it, it's a fun thing to do. There's a website that you can go to look to see if you've been repeated. So, full duplex options. Let's spend a little time on this. So, for the FM options, probably the cleanest one is a single handy talkie. It does both 70 centimeters and 2 meters and is full duplex. If you're looking at buying a new one, the only one new one I know for sure that's out there is the Kenwood. But be sure you get the D72 if you want to do satellites and not the D74. In the D74, they took out full duplex and they put in D-Star. So unfortunately now you got to kind of decide, do I want to work D-Star or do I want to work the satellites with full duplex? Very portable and easy to use. The next option is 2 handy talkies. A pair of valve phones, one on 70 centimeters, one on 2 meters, and that'll get the job done for you. A single handy talkie plus an SDR. And there's a whole list of SDRs there from $10 on eBay through about 120 bucks or so. Works well. It's a little less portable than 2 handy talkies. And then if you're home, satellite capable base stations, IC 9700, IC 9100, IC 910. There's a list of radios. You can use transverters. I've done it with a Flex and 2 transverters. And there's a program called FlexSat PC that was written specifically to do that. So that's another way to do it. Sideband and CW operations. 2 base stations, multi-mode radios. My joke is always the FT1634. You'll see lots of people with a pair of FT817s in a camera bag, fiddling with the 2 knobs and getting the job done. Again, a very portable setup. Particularly if you put them. Somebody's going to have to help me with the name. I don't know them yet. The new batteries, Wonderland. Yeah, it's
WinCam. I don't remember what it is.
But the battery that was made specifically for the 817 that has a very long life on it. It's a LiPo battery that's been put into a case that fits inside the 817 and it works just great. Again, if you're home, the same setup with satellite capable stations. And the one I know Daryl has lots of experience with this that I think works really well and keeps you out of having to buy a $2,000 radio is to use a multi-mode radio such as an FT817, FT857, FT897, an IC7-100, something that's capable of 2 meters or 70 centimeters in mixed mode, and then couple that with an SDR. It works really well. One of the things I will tell you, Daryl always laughs at me when I try to operate his station. With an SDR, there is some processing delay, and it's so that your voice really kind of gets out of sync with what you're saying. And that really isn't the satellite, that's really intrinsic to how fast your computer is. Now, Daryl's a past master ignoring himself. I don't do so good at that. I'll start out. This is K4S, Q, C, E, M, as I try to work my way through, not listening to myself coming back and just, so I have to, close my eyes and go, K4S, Q, C, E, M, 74. I hope that worked. Any questions on this? Because this is, I think, one of the keys to getting on the linear satellites in a cost-effective fashion. You can use the same antennas that you've used before. Arrows work fine. Elks work fine. You can mount your arrow on a little rotor if you want. One of the things we talked about at the park, a guy named Bob Reniga, you may know that name. He's the APRS person. Did some work for the Navy and found that if you fix mount a Yagi at 30 degrees of elevation and then just drive it through azimuth, you will pick up over 80% of the passes in your area, because most passes are around 20 degrees. So that's a way to do it without having to get involved with big fancy Azel rotors. Next slide. Fox series, where are we right now? AO85, the batteries are starting to fail. That is the usual mode of failure for CubeSats. DUV, the data under voice, is sporadic. Try it if it's in the sunlight, because the voice repeater actually still works extremely well. AO91, completely nominal. Data is there. It's good, easy to work. AO92, again, working well. On Sundays, they turn on something called the L-band downshifter, which allows you to transmit up on L-band, 1268 more or less, and then come down on 2 meters. So that's kind of fun. AO95, telemetry only. Every now and then you'll hear a female voice saying hello. We call those Veronicas. Veronica was Tony Matero, who is Silent Key, who was the chief engineer for AMSAT, and his daughter has recorded a hello message for all of the Fox series satellites. And so every now and then you'll hear her saying, hello, AO95. We think, we are sure that what happened was a receiver failed. We don't know why, but it is stone cold deaf, and one of the reasons that we know that is with all the other Fox series, from time to time they get hit with megawatt radar signals, and you can actually see a spike in the feed. With AO95, that spike isn't there. It's getting hit with the same 10 megawatt or hundreds of megawatts signals as anything else. So cause unknown, but apparently we've had a receiver failure there, and we never were able to get it on. There is one more Fox in the series. This will be a linear transponder, 2 meter up, 437 down. It is an Alana launch, educational launch of nano satellites. This has been very good for us. We participate with Vanderbilt in a whole series of experiments they're doing with the effects of radiation on semiconductors, which gets us those launches. This one is going to be launched with Virgin Orbiter's Launcher 1. If you're familiar with that, that's the rocket that sits under a 747 that goes up somewhere around 36,000, 40,000 feet. Then the rocket is dropped and away you go. So that'll be an interesting thing to see. And this is coming up actually very shortly now. This will be the last satellite in the Fox series, and then we're on to something else. Any Fox questions? Yes?
Do we use wideband or narrowband FM?
I just use standard wideband FM. Okay, next slide.
Another question. Got a question.
Oh, I didn't see it. Yes.
Yeah, you talked about arrow antennas and milk antennas.
Mm-hmm.
M-Square has egg beaters. Are they worth the money?
That's a very controversial subject. I have 70 grids on egg beaters. If you use egg beaters, particularly on 432, you've got to put a mass-mounted preamp on them. You also have to realize with an egg beater, you're not going to be very effective down on the horizon. So it is a choice. In my house, they work well because I have all kinds of HOA restrictions to work with, and so it's the best I can do. Daryl will tell you they work marginally if he's in a good mood. But yeah, I would say with egg beaters in particular, pay attention to your feed line, LMR 400 or better, and always use a mass-mounted preamp, and be patient. How many of you copied the SSTV signals? So, it's a lot of fun. They come down sporadically. Events are scheduled. I think you're going to see more of them. The last event, there is a gallery that they're loaded to. 10,000 copied images were copied to the gallery. So that there are lots of people, many of them are SWLs who do this. It is on 2 meters, 145, 800. It's depending on how they're running, either 25 to 50 watts out of a D710. And the usual thing is there are 12 pictures in sequence on 2-minute intervals, which means on any given pass you can get in about 2 images. So the challenge, of course, is to try and capture all 12. What's the equipment that's required? John can speak to this. An HT with a rubber ducky or a simple antenna, a recorder. You record the audio, take it into the house, load some software. I like RxSSTV, there are others. Play the recorder into the microphone on the computer, and you can get an image that looks like this. Yes?
You can also go right in, they have, for iPhone and Android, you can go right from the handheld right to the phone.
Right to the phone. There are lots of ways to do it. I mean, I think the point I was trying to make here is to say this is a lot of fun when these events go on, and you don't need $1,000 worth of equipment to do this. If you got an HT and you got a laptop or a smartphone, you can do this. Watch the AMSAT bulletin board. I always try to put it on the North Fulton reflector whenever something comes up for the next event, but I'm sure there will be more of them. Okay, we are putting new radios on the ISS. 25 to 50 watts. They're basically modified Kenwood D710s. Kenwood was nice enough to give us 10 of them. What's it going to allow us to do? Well, it'll give more power for when the kids talk to the astronauts. It'll give us more power for packet. It can be configured as a crossband repeater, 70 up, 2 down. So we can use it as crossband repeat. It's just going to be a really good deal. One of the things that we had to do was build a new power supply for it. Some of you may have been reading about this. It sounds simple. The Russian segment standard is 28 volts DC. The US segment standard is 120 volts DC. So the power supply had to be able to use both voltage inputs. We ran out of plugs, so we had to put more plugs on it. A little story on the lights. Most of us think in terms of red and green lights. That's what we did with the first version of this. No, it's actually red. It's actually green and amber lights. Because on the ISS, a red light means drop everything you're doing and pay attention to this, because if you don't, something bad is really going to happen. Next slide. Very quickly, the next set of projects is called Greater Orbit, Larger Footprint. We're trying to get higher. We're trying to get back up to 120 kilometers, the level of AO7, to give better coverage. One of the things that's been really hot on the bulletin board, and I got asked about at Huntsville, is, well, you know, the folks in Europe got their geostationary satellite. When are we going to get ours? And if we can't get that, can we at least have a high Earth orbit? For those of you who've been at it for a while, that would be something like AO40. The answer is, unfortunately, until, as I said here, until AM starts building and launching its own rockets, we are dependent upon the good graces of industry and the government, which means we have to hook rides. Industry isn't going to GEOs anymore. The current thought is clouds of CubeSats. So that makes it really hard for us to find a ride. Well, what about if we took something and went like AO40? We actually have another one of those. The cheapest estimate is $5 million, and it's more like $10 million to put it in orbit. It's not going to happen. In terms of the GEOs, one of the big challenges there is it's, again, a money matter. 2 or 3 kilograms, several kilograms of amateur satellite would be a gift to us. Geosynchronous satellites need fuel for station keeping. They don't just stay up there in position automatically. So that same amount of fuel represents several $1 million worth of revenue to the geosatellite owner. It's just a real challenge. Next slide, I'm just about out of time here. 3U cube, 3 CubeSats hooked together, deployable solar cells, 3-axis control. They are going to have SDR radios on them. Because we're higher, we have to deal with more radiation. We are going to go to 10 gigahertz and some of the other microwave bands on them. This is the biggie, deorbit capability. Next slide. To be able to license a satellite to fly in 2019, 2020, you have to prove that you are able to deorbit it after 25 years. The challenge with CubeSats is a CubeSat standard, as you may know, uses no chemical propellants on a CubeSat. We don't want them blowing up in the launcher. So you're left with ion propulsion, a whole bunch of other things, all of which are experimental, and none of which have been approved for use in CubeSats. We could get an experimental license ourselves to do that, but part of the experiment would be put the satellite up and then prove your deorbiting capability works and fire it off and bring the satellite back down again. That really doesn't sound like such a good deal for the amateur radio community. So I think this is really where we're kind of stuck right now. We're trying to get into higher orbit, is this need to, it's an international standard, to be able to pull them down. Lunar Gateway, we'll skip that for tonight. NASA is going to put a spaceship in orbit around the moon, and we are part of that party. It will probably be a 5 gig, 10 gig type operation with lots of things that we can do with it. And if any of you have ever heard of Tony, this is Tony's station down in Australia. Questions? Yes?
Just a quick one. So you said there's a goal to have higher orbits. Why not just, could we stick with LEOs and just do what we can do?
Oh, well, that's kind of what we're going to have to do, is stick with LEOs, do what we can do. And the more we get up there, the less of an issue it becomes. And basically, that's what industry's saying. Now, given their money, I think Amazon is going to put up a cloud of 7,200 of them. I don't think we can do that. But yeah, I mean, LEOs is where we're going to be for the foreseeable future, I think. Other questions? All right. Thank you very much.